Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today I'm excited to get back into a weapon review for the Howell automatic sniper variant because I haven't really tested out this gun much since it came out. The RSC was such a beast. This weapon, when it initially released, had some issues. It's gone through some changes, some patches where many of the medic rifles got a buff, and I really just focused on the RSC after that because the RSC became so freaking good. I didn't see the point in really messing around with any other medic rifles. Now that being said, I still do love the RSC. It is still my favorite medic rifle, but I've been playing around a little bit more with some of the other medic rifles that saw significant boost, and the Howell automatic is actually a lot of fun. It's got a huge amount of ammo, a huge amount of damage capacity, and in medium range, it just excels. It can absolutely blast people, and it can deal with entire squads of enemies before needing to reload, which is something that the RSC struggles with. So having that sort of damage potential in a single magazine was a nice change of pace. Now, although Battlefield 1 doesn't have the sort of attachment customization of previous Battlefield games, one thing I did play around with and mess around with was the magnification of the optic on here. You can go from 2.5 to 3 all the way up to 4 magnification, and this does make a bit of a difference. If you're using the 4 times magnification on this weapon, it's going to sort of incentivize you to use it a little bit at further ranges, and it's going to make it harder to use in extremely close quarters. Now, at really long range, this weapon sees a steep drop off down to 30 damage per shot, which means you're going to have to shoot somebody 4 times, making the Howell automatic sniper not a very good weapon to use at extreme ranges. You can absolutely use it at extreme ranges, but you got to land 4 shots, which makes it less than ideal compared to many other even medic weapons out there. So you really want to try and use this at medium range as much as possible. And even in close quarters, the 4 times optic was a little bit too tricky to use or track people if they're running quickly near you. So I ended up opting for the lowest magnification optic on this one, which was a 2.5 times magnification, allowing me to still zero in on people close range and accurate enough for people at the far ranges that I was going to be engaging anyway. It sort of reminded me if somebody was too hard to see on my optic, then I probably shouldn't be shooting at them, or I should really take caution when going for them, as it's almost certainly going to be a 4-shot kill. Now, as I've reviewed nearly all the weapons in Battlefield 1, I've come up with different category systems for them based on sort of either what the developers were trying to do or what the gun role is in-game. And there's a lot of weapons in Battlefield 1 that are very effective at playing against mediocre players, and this is one of those weapons. See, it suffers from damage output, or rather the speed at which you can put out damage, which means if you're going up against a very on-point player, somebody who knows what they're doing using a very fast damaging weapon, then this is going to lose out. I don't care how accurate or how much of a god you are, this is going to be a very difficult weapon to take on those kind of players. However, you take the skill level down just a little bit where you have the slight advantage, you're on a flank, you've tricked out your opponent, you just start shooting slightly before your enemy. That's where this gun starts to excel, because you have a huge amount of ammo. It's got good accuracy and decent damage output, but not great damage output. So it's the ultimate slayer of noobs, if you will, or the ultimate flanking weapon, where as long as you can shoot at people before they start shooting back at you, you're in a good spot. If you start taking fire and have to return fire with this weapon, that's where it starts to suffer, especially if you get suppressed. Suppression is like the ultimate enemy for, well, sniper classes, but it also really, really hurts medic classes, forcing you to either retreat or get in close range and maybe use a pistol, something that's not quite as affected by suppression at those ranges. And so that is sort of the thing with this class. You have to be stealthy, you got to be flanky, you got to get in there, start shooting before your enemy does, and this weapon is going to excel. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, you could apply that philosophy to every weapon. And yeah, you can, and you should. You should try and be stealthy and tactical and flank with every weapon in the game, but not all weapons require that tactic to be successful, which is sort of the thing that I'm getting at. This weapon pretty much requires that tactic to be more effective. The suppression and the sustained accuracy of this weapon when going through a whole mag very quickly can suffer a bit, so combining suppression with that will reduce your effectiveness very, very quickly. Now, there's a lot of other medic rifles in the game that have similar properties to this one. Why would you pick this one over other ones? The Selbstlader M1916 Marksman is probably the most similar to the sniper variant of this rifle. It's got the same aiming down sight accuracy. It's got a larger magazine with 26 rounds, and its damage doesn't drop off to 30, it drops off to 35, allowing you to still get a 3-shot kill at extreme distances, provided that you don't leg shot your opponent too much. So that weapon has a lot of improvements, but it does have more side-to-side recoil, and it also has a slightly slower rate of fire. So taking those things into consideration, you can sort of see where one slightly ekes ahead in one category over the other. I think the damage output is a little bit more important with this weapon, and the extreme range damage is not quite as important or quite what I'm looking for specifically with this weapon. I don't think it's quite as necessary. You're not playing a counter sniper quite as much with this medic rifle as you are just playing sort of a jack of all trades. You can hold your own in close to medium range combat if you need to. You can extend your range a bit further, but you're not necessarily going to dominate at every single range. This is probably one of the most well-balanced medic weapons in the game. If you can't think of which medic rifle to pick, go with the Howell automatic sniper and you'll be just fine. However, this weapon is tied into the latest DLC for the game, so unless you have that DLC, you won't even have this gun as an option. Now, of course, I talk about flanking and getting the shooting advantage on your opponent. You know, as any situation that can lead to you shooting at your opponent before they start shooting at you is a huge advantage, but if you are playing the medic class a little bit more appropriately, or I think the way that a lot of people play the medic class, which is actually sticking with your team and not pushing the front line forward, or rather letting your teammates push the front line forward, then chances are you're not going to be affected by suppression quite as much. If you let your teammates go in front of you and start taking the brunt of the attack, then this gun will be doing just fine as well. That's another thing about the medic class that I think I have trouble with when playing Battlefield 1, is that I just like to be aggressive. I don't like to wait on my teammate to push the front line forward, because especially in most casual games I play, most of my teammates are playing way too slow for my taste. They're not pushing the objective nearly as much as I prefer to push the objective. So that's just my play style, and a lot of medic weapons don't fit properly into that play style, but it is why I like the RSC so much. You can get 2 shots off with that gun very quickly, usually before you get suppressed, and not have to worry about the follow-up effects too badly. But regardless, if you are playing with the medic class, get good with the sidearm. I've got my 1911 here, or sometimes I was using the auto revolver, but basically most of the sidearms for the medic class are going to be preferable weapons in close quarters. They won't be as affected by suppression, and the damage output on a 1911 is actually superior to the Howell automatic at this range. So there's no real reason not to use a sidearm in close range, especially if you hear somebody coming up close to you. Don't start off with your primary, just switch to the sidearm and you'll end up doing a bit better in general. I mean, you want to use the best option at your disposal, and switching to sidearms in Battlefield 1 has been more important than any other Battlefield game in the past. Now, I think this clip here actually has the 4x magnification on the Howell automatic sniper, and you can kind of see how it is different. It's sort of it gets me to go for headshots a little bit more at further ranges, but it is way harder to track in close range. And I feel like because of the rate of fire of this weapon and the ammo capacity, sometimes it just makes a little more sense to spam fire than zero in for those highly accurate headshots. Oh yeah, and of course on these windowsills here, I'm taking advantage of the built-in bipod that this weapon has, which is actually quite effective for the longer range sniping. You can really put out a lot of shots very accurately. In fact, I think you'll see me right here just quickly spam fire somebody down at range, because I'm not losing any of my accuracy. So bipod on this gun is actually quite fun. I'll never go prone and use the bipod, or rarely go prone and use the bipod, but using it with windowsills and ledges very quickly in the heat of battle can be very effective, and make sure that you stay as accurate or pinpoint accurate as possible. So in conclusion, does this weapon dethrone the RSC for me? No, it doesn't. I like like the RSC, it is such a fun to use medic weapon, but it's also a high skill requirement medic weapon, and you might not like using a gun that has 5 rounds in a magazine by default, and I totally understand that. Maybe you want something a little bit more adaptable, something that you can spam fire a little more. That's where the Howell automatic comes into play, and the sniper edition's even more accurate than the standard edition. So I recommend this weapon to anyone who hasn't tried it out yet, or maybe hasn't gone for the sniper unlock yet. It's very effective, very versatile. You'll probably enjoy this if you enjoy the medic class. As always, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing out.